Hi guys, welcome back. Another video. So today I'm going to be taking a look at a website called frontendmentor.io. And this is a great site because basically rather than sort of just showing you how to sort of create CSS or write HTML or write JavaScript, they don't really do any of that. And what they do instead is they give you specific challenges. So these challenges can range from really basic challenges, so things like just creating some basic layouts, or they can be really complex where you have to build them up in JavaScript and kind of put all the behavior in and stuff like that. So we're going to be having a bit of a crack at this today and see how far we can get. Now with this site, you can get loads of free challenges like these ones here, like these job listings we're filtering. These are all free. And they don't give you any technologies or instructions on how to build it. They just sort of give it to you as a client would give it to you, for example. And then it's up to you how you implement it. So you could be using React, you could be using Vue, you could just be using vanilla JavaScript. Whatever you want, really, it's entirely up to you. And then once you've created your solution, it's then up to you to then post it. You can post it to their website, like you can see. This one here was submitted an hour ago. And then you've got like the design and the solution. You get this kind of cool slider thing. So the solution's on the left and the design is on the right. So as you can see, it's pretty close. There's some font differences there. And then you can kind of like see a report on it and post feedback and all of this kind of thing. So it's really good because you can just build the site out or build the challenge out, and then you can get feedback on it, which is really, really helpful. So if we just log in, I've already got an account. We just log in. On our dashboard, we can then click on challenges, and we're going to go to filter by the free ones because we like free, and then we're just going to go to newbie. And then if we go to there, you can just see the free ones for the newbie. You can see the newbie ones because they're kind of marked at the bottom here as newbie. I think I've had these little 1 to 5 sort of stars in terms of difficulty. So the one we're going to do is the first one in the list, which is this one. It's a 4-card feature section. So we just click on this, and we can kind of see what we get here. You can see the desktop design. The desktop design was what I'm going to focus on today. I'll do the mobile design probably in another video. A video for basically taking a fixed design and switching it to mobile design. That's the mobile design. That's the desktop. You can download all the files here. So if we just do this, you get this zip file. We'll deal with that in a second once that's there. And then the download includes JPEG design for the mobile and desktop so we can see it. Optimized assets, I believe that's just like SVGs. The README to help you get started, and then a style guide, fonts, colors, blah, blah, blah. And they also provide the HTML. One thing you can do is you can buy the Sketch files. I don't run Sketch, I tend to run Figma for most of my stuff now. But I believe Sketch have a in the cloud inspector, I think it's called. So you can actually see these files even if you're not running on a Mac. I run on Linux now, so Sketch isn't really something that I use too much. So in the brief, it's basically giving you the outline. It's essentially to build out this section and getting it to look as close as possible. As we've said before, you can use any tools that you like to complete the challenge, or if there's anything that you want to practice, just give it a go. And then it also mentions like device sizes, so mobile optimization as well. It mentions the style guide. And then also it's got like over on the right hand side, it's got the getting started steps. So, get the starter code, download it, set up Git with it. And then, you can find all the other information in the style guide. It mentions a preprocessor here for using things like Sass. Don't think we're going to do that. We're just going to write bog standard CSS, I think, just vanilla CSS for this one. And working in a team, no, we're not doing that. We're doing it on YouTube. So the first thing that we need to do is unzip this. So I shall do that now. So we've got that extracted. If we now go over to the terminal, and in the terminal we can just do an ls, see what we've got. We've just got a style guide, a readme, an index, some images, and then some design. I'm just going to initialize all of these and then just do git add everything, and then we can just do git commit and then just do the classic first. Right, so we've got a clean repo now, so that's good. If we open this up in VS Code, let me just get this over here. If we go to index.html, hopefully that's big enough. I think it is. Too big, too small. I'll leave it at that size. That should be okay. Okay, so what have we got in here? We've got the design. So this is the desktop design. This is essentially what we're going to be building today. And then we've got the mobile design. This is what we'll do when we look into making things mobile. And then we've just got some SVGs. So these SVGs, you've got 4 here. They are in relation to like these images here. So like this little magnifying glass, this bulb, this house in a browser type thing, and then this computer. So they're the images, and then in the style guide we've just got some tips on things like layout, colors, sizings of things like font sizes and stuff, and obviously fonts. So yeah, so that's straightforward. And then in the index page we've just got a bog standard index page. There's nothing really here. We've got some content as well, but obviously we've got to put all that inside the correct place. Now, the first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to get rid of this attribution stuff just to tidy things up a touch. In fact, we'll get rid of the footer as well. That means we don't need any of this style stuff. But one thing we will need to do is add in our own styles folder or CSS folder. And then from inside there, I'm going to create a style.css. Right, so within our index, I now want to link this. So if I just copy this, what I wrote earlier, just to link that in. So that means we're now pulling the actual style sheet in. And then we've got this title, we've got the style sheet, we've got the fav icon, everything's there. Okay, let's open this up in a browser. So as you can see, we've now got this open in a browser. There's no styles, no HTML, it's just literally the text. So I guess the first thing we should probably do is start making some markup that we can use, some structure. And we're going to do this in a semantic way, and then build out from there really. So what do I see when I look at, where is it, at the design? This one, yeah. So when I look at this design, I see a couple of things. The first thing I see is a header section, which is kind of this section here at the top, the 3 blocks, well, the 2 headers and then the block of text. Then I see a content section, and I see 3 columns. Within each of those columns, I basically see a card. So we see 1 card in 1 column here, 2 cards in the 2nd column, and 1 card in the 3rd column. I also see sort of a container div, literally we could call it just container, that's centered. So it's a set width and then we center it. So that's what I'm seeing at the minute. So let's try and build some of this out for a second. So the first thing I see is a container, and then I see a header section, and then within that header section there was a H1, and we could say that that will be this first one here. And then also we could say that this is also a H1 as well, same with because it's the heading, the whole thing's the heading, right? So what I would probably do, there might be a better way of doing this, but this is kind of the way I would approach it. I wouldn't put a div inside of here because having divs inside of H1s is not actually valid. I think spans is fine, so we're just going to have these here just for styling purposes. Let's just go with top, because then we can, and then bottom. And then outside of that, there's then this p tag, and that p tag contains our text. So that's the top two things here. And then we've got our text here, which can literally just sit on this. Okay. Once we've done that, I think the next thing that we need to do is create a div for the content. So this is not in the header. This is content on its own. And although we've only got one row here, I would be tempted to kind of say that the first thing that we need to do is have a row, because that way we could then add more rows further down the line. And then I think we're going to have a class column like so. The next thing I see is we need to start building out these cards. So if we do the first one, I'm going to give this one an ID. So we could say like this is the supervisor card. I'm also going to give it a class because it still is just a card. We want to apply the styles of whatever card might be. And then we could just say supervisor, just like this here. And then I believe the next thing is we have, so supervisor and then some content and then an image. So the content would just be default sort of p tag, which would be this guy here. So I'll just delete the content as I use it really. And then finally we're going to have an image. We'll just set that to nothingness at the minute. And that can just go there. What's next? I think the next thing is we need to replicate what we've done. So we would just take the next column, which I guess is going to be here. So that's the first column, this will be the second, and this will be the third. So in the second column, we're going to have team builder. I believe this is the second column. Yep. I'm going to change this here because this is the card name. So this is going to be team builder. It's a card. Yeah. And then we can just say team builder, blah, blah, blah. Oh, and there's another card within this column. So you've got two actual cards in this middle one instead of just the one. If you see, we've got team builder and we've got karma. So we change the ID here, karma and karma. And then if we just take this content here, and we can just take that, delete that. And then we can drop that in right here. And then for the last one, the last card, we've got calculator. And then we grab in this here, just get rid of all this white space, and then change this. Now, the next thing I want to think about for each of these cards is the images. Now we've got these SVGs. So in the first image, I'm going to use images, and then it's this one's supervisor, isn't it? So yeah, and then this one is team builder. Was it team builder? Yeah. And then this one is karma. And then finally this one, supervisor. Cool. So I think that's our markdown in. The next thing I need to do is, if we look at the fonts, you see they're all a set sort of font and things. So if we go into the style guide, we've actually got this link here open. That's fine. And we're at Google Fonts, so we can select, what is it, 2, 4, and 600. So that's 2, 4, and 600. Cool. So then if we want to embed these, we've now got our link. So we just grab this link and we can drop that in. Where do we want to drop this in? Let's drop it in right here. So that's dropping it in. And then this is our font family, and we can use that in a second with our CSS. So if we go back to our page now, which I believe is this guy here, you can see we've now got our structure in. Obviously there's no styling involved at all here just yet. We're going to get to that in a jiffy. Right, so the first thing that we want to do is we want to go and look inside style.css, and we need to add a few styles for a few different things here. The first thing that we need to do is kind of like the sort of top level styles. So for example, the font family, we want that to be this new font. So if we do that, we can see we've got this new font pulled in. We also want to set in the background color. If I look at the background color, I think it was this very light gray. So we're just going to snatch that, drop that in there, see what that does. Ooh, it's very, very subtle, but there's a difference there. I don't know if it comes through on the video. And then I guess the last thing that we want to do is put in the actual color of the text, which is going to be, I believe, this one. Let's see what we've got at this point. Okay, that's kind of close, I guess, to what we're trying to achieve. But let's carry on. So if you remember, we had the container, and then with the container, we wanted to center that. So we're going to do margin 0 auto. So that's the left and the right. The margins are automatically determined. And we're also going to add in a width of 1440 pixels. So yeah, so when the containers are fixed width, for example, in this case it's 1440 pixels, the margin on the top will be 0, and then on the left and right it will be auto, so it means it's enough to center it essentially. So let's have a look where we are now. Okay, so that's got this bit centered, which is fine. Let's just have a quick look here. Because one thing I've spotted, and you may have spotted this, is this content is fine, but it should be within that container. So it needs to be within this here. Basically, in this example, this content div with everything inside of it isn't within that container. So if I just refresh that, now it is. Everything's in there. Cool. What's next then? I think we're going to take a look at the header now. So if we go look at the header tag, it is this up here. So the header tag is essentially this stuff. So if we get the header tag and we say we want to align the text to the center, and let's set, say, font size. Is it going to be? Let's try 1.7. It might be a bit smaller than that. Yeah, 1.7 RAM. Wait a minute. Let's just see. Okay, it's a bit big, but not to worry. We'll come back and we'll tweak that. The next thing we want to do is we want to change the style. So we've got these top and bottom things within the H1. So the way that we could do that is we could say header, and then we want to target a span that's the top with a class of top, and we could say display block because a span is not a block element, and then let's give it a font weight if you remember, the top one is lighter than the middle one. It's the middle one. So we'll say 200 on this one and then see what we get. Okay, so yeah, so the top one is lighter and the middle one is kind of a bit more intense. So let's go for the second one now. I think it was bottom. I think that's what we called it. Let's just double check that. Yeah, I called it bottom for now. Again, this is going to be a block scenario, and then the font weight. Let's put that at 600 because it was quite heavy. Yeah, that's kind of the default, I guess, there. The next thing that I want to do is I want to sort out this span here. So let's say header and then direct descendants, which is going to be the p tag. Let's set a width on this to say 70% for now. Let's just save that. Yeah, that sets a width. Because we've now set a width, we want to do a margin auto on it. So that should center it. Yep. And then we need to do a font weight, I think. I think it was quite a light weight, if I remember from the design, which is this one. No, this one. Yeah, it's kind of a light design, so it's not a million miles away. We can mess around with the spacing and stuff later. Like this gap between reliable and powered is quite a bit smaller than what we've got at the minute, but we'll worry about that later. So now we've got that in. Just 1 second, what am I at? I'm at 100% on that, that's cool. So the next thing that I want to start working on is like the columns and things, and the rows. So I'm going to use Flexbox for this. So if we go for the row first, I'm going to do a display flex. Let's just see what that does. Yep, everything's just in a Flexbox, so it just kind of all butts up against each other, which is nice. I want to add some padding to the top because if you look, it's kind of too close, this gap here. There's no gap. So if I just save this, refresh, it kind of just adds a little gap, which is nice. We want to align the items to the center. So you kind of got this, you can't really see it at the minute, but it's kind of like the vertical. Like if I just get rid of this, and then you see like supervisor, team builder, and calculator, they're all kind of at the same level. If you remember in the design, they're not, they're kind of like middle, and then these two are middle, and then, yeah, you can see. So we want to kind of have them all centered that way, vertically. I'm trying to think what's next. Oh, we want to do flex wrap to actually do that. And then, shall we say the width of the row is going to be 100% because it just needs to be the full width. Okay, cool. So that's getting closer, getting there. The next thing is we need to target the individual columns. So display flex direction on this we can change. So rather than row, we're going to set this on a column. We need to flex basis this to 100, and we'll just do flex 1. See where we're at with that. Yeah, that's looking a bit more. I think that's level. Won't know until we get the card stuff on, and we'll do that now. So with the card, how are we going to do this? There's a couple of things that we need to do here. First of all, I want to do a position relative. Now the reason I want to do this is because I want to position that image in the bottom right, which is going to be absolute. So if this is relative, that's going to be fine. And then we want some padding within this card. So 20 pixels to 35 pixels. Okay, so that's kind of moved it a bit closer. tightened it up just a little bit. We want to add some height to this, so let's say it's 250 pixels high, and then we want to add a margin in between them, because at the minute they're kind of all snug up against each other. Like here, you can't see it because we've got no borders, but like these are all touching essentially, like here, here, and here. So let's do 25 pixels. Oh, and the border radius as well. Don't forget the border radius. Let's do 2%. It looks like 2%, I think. Can't tell at the minute. So again, that's added a bit of spacing, but then tightened up the design. The background color of these cards, I believe, are white. Let's have a quick look. Yeah, so the grey on the background and then white on the foreground. So is that gonna? Yeah, you can get. Hopefully you can see that on the video, but this is a very different color to the background, which is nice. And then we're going to add this box shadow. Now I'm kind of going to guess this at the minute. 3 pixels by 3 pixels, let's say. 5 pixels, 6 pixels, and then like a almost white. Okay, that's not too bad. I think we're a bit aggressive with ours, but that's okay. We'll leave that for now. Again, not important. I think the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to sort that image out and put this image in the right place. So if you remember on this, we're doing relative. That then means that we can now do any card that has an image inside of it. We want to position that to absolute, and then say the bottom is going to be, what did we do it before? So we had a padding top of 25 on that, and then on the card itself it's 20 and 35 pixels. So the bottom will be 25 pixels, and on the right will be 35 pixels. I believe that should sort the image out. Yeah. And the last thing that I think we need to add in terms of the style is the stripes along the top. Yeah, you remember these here? So we've got like this red stripe. These are all from the style guide, the actual colours. So we can grab those in a second. Now, if you remember, I put an ID on all of these. So we had an ID for the team builder, the karma, the calculator, the supervisor. The reason I did that is because we're not really going to reuse these styles. These styles are very specific for very specific divs. So I think what I'm going to do is it's going to be a card that I want to target with the ID of, say, calculator. Let's do that one first. Border. So I'm just going to do a border top, say 5 pixels, and then it's going to be solid, and then I need to get the color for that. Let me just look in the style guide. It's one of these. I think it's this blue one. So we'll grab the blue one, and we'll do that there. You know what? I might put these on a single line because they're kind of replicated. So we've got calculator. What was the other one? Team builder. Karma, I think it was. And what was the last one? Supervisor. Supervisor. Right, okay. So now let's go back to the style guide. We want team builder. Team builder, I think, is this red. I mean, it doesn't ultimately matter, right, if we get the colours a bit mixed up, but I think from memory, that's correct. And then karma. What colour was karma? I think that was going to be the... I think karma's this orange colour. I think. Put that there. And then the last one that we wanted was the supervisor. And I think that was going to be the The cyan, yeah, it was, because you had the blue colours either side. So if I refresh this, ta-da, we get these in. That's kind of cool. Yeah, so that's kind of what we have done. Just a quick sort of, I don't know, was that 10, 20 minutes? If we look at the design, that's kind of what the design was. This is kind of what we've got. We can still tighten this up some more, but that's going to be it for the video today. I just thought I'd go over this, and feel free, I'll put a link in the description below to Frontend Mentor, and feel free to take a look at that. It's a pretty good tool, and I think if you were to jump on that and do one of these every couple of days or even once a week, it's going to make you a better developer, because you're going to hit these problems, and as you get into more complex things, you're going to be learning more by doing stuff, sort of active learning rather than passive. So that's it for today, guys. In the next one, we'll make this responsive, because this just isn't at the minute. And then I'll catch you in the next video. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.